jackdaw and the birds. Zeus, wishing to appoint a king among the birds, set a deadline by which all must appear so that he could crown the most handsome of them as king. However, those who gathered were swept away onto a river. The jackdaw, noticing that he was surrounded by ugliness, left and collected the feathers shed by the other birds. He kept them for himself and attached them to his body. As a result, he became more handsome than all the others. When the appointed day arrived, all the birds came before Zeus. The jackdaw, now decorated with various colours, also appeared. Just as Zeus was about to invest the jackdaw with kingship for his fine appearance, the birds, indignant, each reclaimed his own feather. Thus it happened that the jackdaw, having been stripped of his adornments, became naked once again. In the same way, human debtors are like this. While they hold money that belongs to others, they seem to be something special, but once they have returned it, they are found to be just as they were from the start. 102. Hermes and the Earth. When Zeus created man and woman, he ordered Hermes to take them to the earth and show them how to obtain food by digging into the ground. However, at first, the earth refused to cooperate. When Hermes insisted, saying that Zeus had commanded it, the earth responded, "Let them dig as much as they like, but they will pay for it with groans and tears." This fable is relevant to those who easily take out loans but later find it difficult to repay them. 3. Hermes and the Cobblers. Zeus ordered Hermes to give a dose of deceit to every craftsman. Hermes ground it into a fine powder and divided it into equal portions, applying it to each craftsman. When only the cobbler was left, a great deal of the drug remained. Hermes poured the entire remaining contents onto the cobbler. As a result, all craftsmen became liars, but cobblers were the worst of all. This fable is suitable for a man who tells lies. Zeus and Apollo. Apollo, shooting his bow at a great distance, said to the gods, "No one can shoot farther than I, not even Zeus." Zeus, playing along, agreed to a contest. Hermes shook the lots in Ares' helmet, and the lot fell to Apollo. Apollo, first in line, stretched his golden bowstring and swiftly released an arrow that landed in the garden of the Hesperides. Then Zeus covered the same distance in a single stride and stood, asking, "Where should I shoot my arrow, son? There is no place for me to stand." In the end, Zeus won the contest without even firing a shot. Note, the Garden of the Hesperides is a blessed garden located at the western edge of the world in Greek mythology. The Hawks, the Dog, and the Man. Zeus created man to be short-lived. The man, using his own reasoning, prepared a home for himself when winter came and spent his time there. One day, when the cold was severe and the winter storm was strong, the horse, unable to endure the cold, ran to the man for shelter, asking him to provide some protection. The man responded that he would only help if the horse offered a portion of his years in exchange. The horse agreed, and soon after the ox came to seek shelter, unable to bear the winter cold either. The man told him the same, that he would offer protection if the ox also gave part of his years. The ox agreed, and then the dog arrived, also seeking shelter from the cold. The dog, too, after offering part of his years, was allowed to stay. Thus, when humans live the lifespan granted by Zeus, they are pure and good. When they enter the years granted by the horse, they become arrogant. When they reach the years granted by the ox, they work hard and accumulate wealth. And when they reach the years granted by the dog, they become irritable and growl. This is why old people are ill-tempered. Note, a similar story can also be found in the Grimm Brothers' Tales 176. In the final edition of the Grimm Brothers collection, they removed stories of French origin. However, if they had removed all non-Germanic folk tales, would there have been any stories left in the final edition? 106. Zeus and the Tortoise. Zeus invited all the animals to his wedding feast. The tortoise, however, did not attend. Zeus, puzzled by her absence, asked her the reason for not coming to the feast. The tortoise replied, "There is no place like home, no place as good as my own house." Angry at the tortoise's refusal to come, Zeus commanded that she carry her house with her wherever she went. The fable shows that many people prefer to live simply at home, rather than live lavishly at someone else's house. Zeus and the Fox. Zeus admired the fox's cunning and mischievous nature, so he decided to transform her into the likeness of a human and make her his queen. However, he wanted to test whether her nature had truly changed. To do so, Zeus made a beetle crawl out from a hole. The fox, upon seeing it, jumped down from her throne and began chasing after the beetle. The gods laughed as they watched the fox run, and Zeus, embarrassed, renounced his relationship with her. He commanded the fox to return to her original form and said, "You are not worthy of my favor. Live the life you deserve." This fable shows that no matter how much one's appearance or circumstances may change, their true nature cannot be hidden. Hermes, and the dose of intelligence. After Zeus created humanity, he ordered Hermes to give them intelligence. Hermes measured out equal portions and gave each person their share. As a result, the shorter people became wise, because the full measure of intelligence reached them completely, while the taller people became foolish, as the potion could not reach higher than their knees. This fable applies to a man who, although large in stature, lacks reason in his mind. When Zeus created humans, he immediately endowed them with all other qualities. But he forgot to instill in them the sense of shame. So, not knowing how else to introduce it, he commanded shame to enter through the anus. At first, shame resisted indignantly, but when Zeus pressed her strongly, she said, "Very well, I will enter on the condition that if any other thing tries to enter after me, I shall depart at once." From that time on, all prostitutes have been shameless. This myth shows that those possessed by love end up losing their sense of shame. The man and the hero. A man had a hero shrine in his house and made expensive sacrifices to it. As he kept spending large sums on the offerings, the hero appeared to him one night and said, "Stop wasting your money. If you spend it all and become poor, you'll blame me for it." Likewise, many people, when they suffer misfortune due to their own foolishness, tend to blame the gods. 111. Hercules and Plutus. Hercules, having been made a god and seated at a banquet with Zeus, greeted each of the gods with great warmth. But when Plutus, the god of wealth, entered last, Hercules turned his gaze aside, lowering his head to the ground. Zeus, surprised by this, asked him why, after greeting all the other gods with such pleasure, he had avoided Plutus. Hercules replied, "It is because during my time among humans, I often saw him associating with the wicked." The ant and the dung beetle. During the summer, an ant walked through the fields, collecting wheat and barley to store food for the winter. A dung beetle watched the ant and thought that he must be a wretched creature since he worked all the time, unlike all the other animals who were enjoying themselves in ease. The ant, however, paid no attention to the dung beetle and simply continued his work. When winter came, the dung beetle found his dung washed away by the rain and became hungry. He went to the ant and begged for some of his food. The ant replied, "Oh, beetle, if you had worked when I was working instead of mocking me, you wouldn't be here begging for food now." The fable teaches us not to neglect necessary things and to take care of our future well-being in good time. 13. The tuna and the dolphin. A tuna was being chased by a dolphin, speeding through the waters with loud splashes. Just as the dolphin was about to catch him, the tuna, driven by a desperate surge of strength, was thrown onto a nearby shore. The dolphin, swept along by the same force, also ran aground next to him. The tuna, turning to see the dolphin struggling for breath, said, "I no longer find my death painful, for I see the one who caused it dying along with me." This story shows that people endure hardships more easily when they see those responsible for their troubles suffering as well. The doctor and the sick man. A doctor was treating a sick man. However, when the man passed away, the doctor said to the people carrying him to his burial, "If this man had stopped drinking wine and used enemas, he wouldn't have died." Someone in the crowd responded sharply, "Doctor, this isn't the time for that kind of talk when it serves no purpose. You should have given that advice when it could actually help him." This fable shows that friends should offer their help at the right time, not make clever remarks when it's too late. 115. The bird catcher and the viper. The bird-catcher took his bird-lime and reeds and went out to catch some birds. When he saw a thrush perched high on a tall tree, he decided to catch it. He attached the reeds together to make them longer and then stared intently at the bird, his mind focused on the task. Unaware, he stepped on a viper that was lying at his feet. The viper, enraged, bit him. As he lay dying, the bird-catcher said, "Woe is me! I was trying to catch one thing, but instead I've been caught and brought to death by something else." The story shows that those who plot against others often fall victim to the same fate. Note, the reason for using reeds is that birdlime was applied to them to trap small birds. Birdlime is a sticky substance used for trapping birds. It is applied to branches or small tree twigs, and when a bird lands on them, it gets stuck, allowing the bird to be captured. 116. The crab and the fox. A crab, having come up from the sea, was dwelling alone on a certain shore. Meanwhile, a hungry fox, seeing him and lacking food, ran over and seized him. The crab, who was about to be carried away, said, "But I have rightly suffered, for being a creature of the sea, I wish to become a creature of the land." Thus, those among men who abandon their familiar pursuits and engage in ventures unsuited to them suffer misfortune in the same manner. 17. The camel and Zeus. The camel, seeing a bull proudly flaunting its horns, became jealous and wished to have horns of her own. She went to Zeus and asked him to give her horns. Zeus, angry at her greed, said that since she was already well suited for her size and strength, there was no need for more. He refused to give her horns, and in his anger, he even took away part of her ears. This fable shows that those who are already given much should be content with what they have, rather than seeking more, or they might lose what they already possess. The beaver. The beaver is a four-legged animal that lives in lakes. Its testicles are said to be useful in certain medical treatments. It is said that when the beaver is pursued by humans and realizes why it is being hunted, it flees at first with great speed, using its legs to escape. But when it is caught, it bites off its own testicles and throws them to the hunters, thereby saving its life. The moral of this fable is that, like the beaver, those who are wise among humans, when faced with a threat to their lives, will disregard wealth in order to protect their safety. 119. The gardener irrigating vegetables. A man approached a gardener who was watering his vegetables and asked him, "Why is it that the wild plants grow strong and firm without being planted or cultivated, while the vegetables you plant often wither and become weak?" The gardener replied, "The wild plants are taken care of by nature itself, which is enough on its own, but our plants depend on human care." This story shows that a mother's care for her children is more dependable than a stepmother's attention. A gardener's dog fell into a well. The gardener, wanting to pull him out, descended into the well himself. The dog, thinking that the man intended to push him further down, turned and bit the gardener. Struggling to climb out, the gardener said, "I deserve this. Why did I make such an effort to save you when all you do is attack me?" This fable criticizes those who are foolish and unappreciative. The musician. There was a musician who had no talent at all. He often played his lyre in a room with thick plaster on the walls, and when he heard the echo of his voice, he thought he must be a very good musician. Filled with pride, he decided he should perform on stage. But when he got to the theatre and performed poorly, the audience threw stones at him and drove him off the stage. The fable shows that the same thing happens to some public speakers. While they are still in school, they may think they are talented, but when they enter public life, they find they are worth nothing. 122. The thieves and the rooster. Thieves broke into a house, but they found nothing inside except for a rooster. They took the rooster and left. As they were about to kill him, the rooster begged them to let him go, saying that he was useful to people because he woke them up to get to their work in the dark. The thieves responded, "That's even more reason for us to kill you. When you wake them up, you stop us from stealing from their houses." The story shows that things which frustrate the wicked are the very things that benefit the good. 123. The jackdaw and the ravens. There was a jackdaw who was larger than the other jackdaws. Scorning his fellows, he went to the ravens, deciding to live with them. However, the ravens did not recognize either his voice or his appearance, so they attacked him and drove him away. Rejected by the ravens, he returned to the jackdaws. But the jackdaws, angered by his arrogance, refused to accept him. In the end, the jackdaw was left without a place to go. This is also the case with those who leave their homeland, preferring foreign lands. They do not thrive in those places because they are strangers, and they are rejected by their own people for their arrogance. Note, the jackdaw and the raven are both black birds belonging to the Corvidae, crow, family. 124. The raven and the fox. A raven had seized a piece of meat and sat on a tree. A fox, seeing him, wanted to get the meat for itself. It praised the raven, saying, "How magnificent and handsome you are! Surely you should be the king of all birds. If only you had a voice to match your appearance, you would undoubtedly reign supreme among the fowl." Flattered, the raven thought to show off his voice. He let out a loud caw, dropping the meat in the process. The fox immediately ran over, snatched the meat, and said, "O raven, if only you had brains to match your voice, you would truly deserve to rule over all the birds. If you follow the advice of the foolish, you will come to harm." 125. The crow and the raven. The crow was jealous of the raven for its ability to deliver omens to humans and predict the future. The raven was often consulted by people for this purpose, and the crow wanted to achieve the same status. One day, when the crow saw some travelers passing by, she flew up into a tree and began squawking loudly. The men, startled by the sound, turned towards it, but one of them, regaining his composure, said, "Let's go, friends. It's just a crow. Her squawking means nothing." The story shows that people who try to imitate their superiors will fail and become the subject of ridicule. Jackdaw and the fox. The jackdaw, feeling hungry, sat on a fig tree. Finding the figs were still unripe, he decided to wait until they ripened. A fox, seeing him lingering there, asked him what he was waiting for. After learning the reason, the fox said, "But you're mistaken, friend. Hope can guide you at first, but it won't help you in the end. It knows how to attract, but it cannot nourish." The crow and the dog. A crow was making a sacrifice to Athena and invited a dog to join the feast. The dog asked, "Why are you wasting your sacrifices? The goddess clearly hates you so much that she's even taken away the trust people once had in your omens." The crow replied, "That's exactly why I'm making these offerings. I know she's hostile toward me, but I hope to win her over." This fable shows that many people seeking advantage do not hesitate to show kindness to their enemies. The kite and the snake. A kite, bird that was searching for food, noticed a snake lying in the sun. The kite swooped down and grabbed the snake, but the snake quickly twisted around and bit it. As it was dying, the kite said, "What a fool I was! The windfall I found has turned out to be fatal." This fable can be applied to a person who finds a treasure that puts their life in danger. 129. The jackdaw and the doves. A jackdaw saw that the doves in a dovecote were very well fed, so he dyed himself white and went to join them, expecting to share in their food. As long as the jackdaw kept quiet, the doves thought he was another dove and accepted him. But when he forgot to keep quiet and let out a squawk, the pigeons recognized who he was and drove him away. Unable to feed with the doves, he went back to the jackdaws. But because they did not recognize his color, they kept him away from their food, and the jackdaw ended up with nothing to eat at all. This story shows that we too must be contented with our lot in life, since being greedy for more is pointless and can even deprive us of the things that are ours. 130. The stomach and the feet. The stomach and the feet were arguing about power. The feet, each saying that they were stronger than the stomach, claimed that they even had the ability to carry the stomach itself. The stomach replied, "But you, who are saying this, if I do not provide food to you, you will not be able to carry anything. So it is in armies as well. Nothing comes from a large crowd unless the leaders are wise." The stomach and the body, variant version. Once, when the parts of the human body did not work together as they do today, each part had its own opinion and the ability to speak. The hands, feet, and other parts of the body were offended, because all the rewards of their hard work and effort were delivered to the stomach. Meanwhile, the stomach simply sat there, relaxed, enjoying all that was brought to him. Frustrated by this, the body parts finally decided to revolt. The hands refused to bring food to the mouth refused to take in any food, and the teeth refused to chew anything. In their angry attempt to starve the stomach into submission, the various parts of the body, and the body itself, began to weaken and waste away. As hunger took over, the parts realized that the stomach's work was crucial. The food it consumed was turned into blood, which nourished and revitalized the entire body, allowing it to thrive. By digesting food, the stomach enriched the blood and sent it throughout the veins, sustaining the whole body. In the end, the members of the body learned that the stomach's work was essential. They understood that no part could function alone. The body could only thrive when all its parts worked together in harmony. A man caught a jackdaw and tied a string around its foot, planning to give it to his child as a gift. The jackdaw, unable to endure life among humans, seized a moment of freedom and fled back to its nest. However, the string got tangled in the branches, trapping the bird. Unable to fly, the jackdaw faced death and said to himself, "How foolish I am. Refusing to endure captivity with humans, I have instead caused my own ruin." This tale fits those who, trying to escape moderate dangers, unwittingly fall into even worse misfortunes. The Dog and the Lion. A hunting dog saw a lion and started chasing him, but when the lion turned around and let out a mighty roar, the dog got scared and ran back in fear. A fox, watching the whole scene, said, "You fool! How could you chase a lion when you couldn't even handle his roar?" This story is told about arrogant men who try to slander those far more powerful than themselves. When the stronger ones push back, they quickly retreat in fear. 33. The Dog and the Reflected Meat. A dog was crossing a river with a piece of meat in his mouth. As he looked into the water, he saw his reflection and mistook it for another dog carrying a larger piece of meat. He dropped his own meat to try and grab the larger piece. However, the reflection disappeared, and when the dog went to retrieve his own meat, he found that a raven had already taken it. The dog lamented his situation and said, "How foolish I was, chasing after an illusion, only to lose both my meat and the illusion." This fable teaches that the desire to gain more can result in losing everything. The Sleeping Dog and the Wolf. A dog was lying asleep in front of a barn. A wolf, spotting him there, was about to eat him. The dog pleaded, "Please, not now. Look at me. I'm thin and weak right now, but my masters are preparing for a wedding soon. Once it's over, I'll be well fed and plump. Then you'll have a better meal." The wolf, trusting the dog's words, let him go. A few days later, the wolf returned and found the dog sleeping on the roof. Standing below, the wolf called out, reminding the dog of their agreement. The dog responded, "Wolf, if you ever see me sleeping in front of the barn again, don't wait for a wedding." So it is with wise people. Once they have escaped danger, they are careful and alert in the future. 135. The Starving Dogs. A pack of hungry dogs spotted some cowhide soaking in a river. They wanted to get them, but couldn't reach them because of the deep flooding water. After thinking for a while, the dogs agreed among themselves, "Let's drink up all the water first, and then we can reach the hides." But as they started drinking, their stomachs swelled up. Before they could reach the hides, they burst and died. In this way, some people, driven by the hope of profit, take on dangerous tasks. They often destroy themselves before achieving what they desire. The Dog and the Hare. A hunting dog caught a hare. Sometimes he bit the hare, and other times he licked his wounds. The hare, annoyed by this, said to the dog, "Hey, stop either biting me or kissing me. I need to know whether you're my enemy or my friend." This fable is a fitting lesson for dealing with those who are uncertain in their intentions. 137. The Gnat and the Bull. A gnat perched on the horn of a bull and stayed there for a long time. When he was about to leave, he asked the bull, "I'm about to fly off now. Did I feel heavy while I was sitting here?" The bull, shrugging, replied, "I didn't know when you arrived, and I won't know when you leave either." This fable applies to a person who is of no importance, whether they are present or absent, causing neither harm nor benefit. On 138, the hares and the frogs. Once the hares gathered together and lamented that their lives were filled with danger and fear. They were being chased by humans, dogs, eagles, and many other creatures. The hares thought that it would be better to die once than to live in constant fear. After making this decision, they headed toward the pond, planning to take their own lives there. The frogs, who lived around the pond, heard the approaching sound of the hares and quickly jumped into the deep water to hide. One of the hares, seeing this, said, "Wait, don't be afraid. Look, there are creatures even more cowardly than we are." This fable shows that unhappy people find comfort by seeing others who are in worse situations than they are. 39. The seagull and the kite. A seagull tried to swallow a fish but tore his throat in the process. He lay dead on the shore. A kite saw him and said, "You got what you deserved. You were born to soar in the sky, yet you chose to live on the sea." Those who abandon their natural way of life and take on tasks that don't suit them are bound to fail. 40. The lion and the farmer. A lion fell in love with a farmer's daughter and asked for her hand in marriage. The farmer, unwilling to give his daughter to a wild beast, but also too afraid to refuse, devised a plan. The lion kept pressing him for an answer, so the farmer told him, "You are indeed a worthy suitor for my daughter, but I cannot give her to you unless you first remove your teeth and trim your claws. These are what frighten her." The lion, blinded by love, agreed without hesitation and had both his teeth pulled and his claws cut. When he returned to the farmer, now powerless and defenseless, the farmer simply beat him with a club and drove him away. The story shows that those who trust others too easily, giving up their own advantages, become vulnerable to those who once feared them. A lion heard a loud croaking sound and turned toward it, thinking some mighty creature was nearby. He waited for a moment and then saw a frog crawl out of the swamp. Disappointed, the lion walked up, crushed the frog underfoot, and said, "And here I was, thinking such a small creature could make such a huge noise." This story speaks to people who talk endlessly but achieve nothing more than just making noise. 142. The lion, the fox, and the footprints. An old lion, too weak to hunt for himself, decided to rely on cunning. He went into a cave and lay down, pretending to be sick. When animals came to visit him out of concern, he caught and devoured them one by one. After many animals had been consumed, a fox who saw through the trick arrived. Standing at a safe distance from the cave, she asked the lion how he was doing. The lion answered, "Not well at all. Why don't you come in to see for yourself?" The fox replied, "I might have, but I see plenty of tracks going in and none coming out." Wise people, seeing signs of danger, know how to avoid it. No 143. The lion and the bull. A lion wanted to deceive a mighty bull and defeat him through trickery. So, he claimed to have sacrificed a sheep and invited the bull to a feast, intending to wrestle and kill him when he lay down. The bull came, but upon entering, he noticed several large cauldrons and massive roasting spits. Yet there was no sheep anywhere to be seen. Without saying a word, the bull turned around and walked away. The lion, offended by the bull's behavior, asked why he had left when nothing bad had happened to him. The bull replied, "I didn't leave for no reason. The preparations I saw weren't made for a sheep. They were clearly for a bull." This fable shows that the schemes of the wicked never escape the notice of wise people. Not 144. The lion and the farmer. A lion entered a farmer's yard. The farmer, wanting to capture it, shut the outer gate. The lion, unable to escape, first destroyed the sheep and then turned toward the cattle. Frightened for his own safety, the farmer opened the gate. After the lion had gone, the farmer's wife saw him groaning and said, "You got exactly what you deserved. Why did you try to lock up a creature you should have run away from, even from afar?" In this way, those who provoke someone stronger naturally suffer the consequences of their mistakes. 145. The lion and the dolphin. A lion was wandering along the seashore when he saw a dolphin sticking his head out of the water. The lion said, "Hey, dolphin, how about we form an alliance? You rule the creatures of the sea, and I rule those on land. We'd make the perfect team." The dolphin agreed eagerly. Sometime later, the lion, who had long been fighting with a wild bull, called out to the dolphin for help. Although the dolphin wanted to help, he couldn't come out of the water. Frustrated, the lion accused him of being a traitor. But the dolphin responded, "Don't blame me, blame nature. I was made for the sea, and I can't walk on land." In the same way, when forming friendships, we must choose allies who can stand by us in times of danger. The lion frightened by a mouse and the fox. While the lion was sleeping, a mouse scurried over his body. The lion woke up and immediately twisted and turned, searching for the intruder. A fox, watching this, mocked him, saying, "How shameful! A lion afraid of a mouse." The lion replied, "I was not afraid of the mouse itself. I was just amazed that anyone would dare run across the body of a sleeping lion." This story teaches that wise people should not dismiss even small matters as insignificant. 47. The Lion and the Bear. A lion and a bear found a young deer and started fighting over it. They fiercely attacked each other until both became exhausted and dizzy from the struggle. Unable to continue, they collapsed on the ground. A fox who had been circling around them saw them lying there with the deer in between. Seizing the moment, she dashed in, grabbed the deer, and fled. The lion and the bear, too weak to stand, could only watch as the fox ran off. "What fools we are," they said, "to have gone through all that trouble for the sake of a fox." The fable shows that while some work hard, others reap the rewards. 48. The Lion and the Hare. A lion, while sleeping, happened upon a hare. He was about to eat it when he saw a deer passing by. Leaving the hare behind, he immediately started chasing the deer. The hare, startled by the noise, quickly ran away. The lion chased the deer for a long time, but could not catch it. When he returned to where he had left the hare, he found that it too had escaped. At this point, the lion said, "I deserve this. I gave up what was within my grasp, hoping for something greater, and now I've lost both." Some people behave the same way. Not content with modest gains, they pursue the hope of greater rewards, only to lose what they already had. 149. The Lion, the Fox, and the Donkey. The lion, the fox, and the donkey went hunting together. After capturing a large stag, they agreed that the lion would divide the spoils. The donkey carefully divided the stag into 3 equal parts and asked the lion and the fox to pick first. But the lion, displeased with the equal division, became enraged and tore the donkey to pieces. The fox then took over the task of dividing the spoils. The fox piled all the game into one large heap, taking the smallest portion for himself and leaving the rest for the lion. The lion, pleased with this gesture, asked, "Who taught you to divide so well?" The fox replied, "I learned it from the donkey who lies there." Note, in some English versions it mentions that the lion, wolf, and fox went hunting together, but in most Latin and English versions the ass, donkey, is the one involved. 150. The Lion and the Mouse. While the lion was sleeping, a mouse ran over his body. The lion woke up and, in his strength, was about to crush the mouse. The mouse begged him to spare his life, promising that if saved, he would return the favor. Laughing at the thought, the lion released him. Not long after, the lion was captured by hunters and tied to a tree. Hearing his roars, the mouse ran to help. Upon recognizing the lion, the mouse began gnawing at the ropes, and with his help, the lion was freed. The mouse said, "You laughed at me back then, thinking I would never repay you. But now, know that even a mouse can show kindness." The story shows that in times of change, the strong may become weak, and the weak may become strong.